All right, welcome in. It's Wednesday. Time for Total Bases. I'm here, Tokyo Brandon, Brian Leonard. This is your one-stop shop for everything MLB related. Free pick Major League Baseball show right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And I'm going to start off by talking about the parlay that we hit last night. Rockies and Giants couldn't have made it more difficult. Rockies should probably cancel the season after that result, getting to the ninth inning. Win right there for them, and they blow the game, but they stay under 11.5 runs to cash our plus 525 parlay. So we're back. We're officially back. I think we're back. I did the math. It's like back up like 12 units on the season, or $12 for every dollar you've placed on the parlay. So I'm feeling good about that. Welcome into you guys. I think TB, did you have like a good night last night? I thought I saw you had a pretty good night.
I went 4-0 in MLB yesterday, so I was
pretty
good. Pretty happy, but it was a dog poo day the day before, but because I lost 3 walks, but I won a couple of outs. So it was kind of a push, slightly lost the day before, but yesterday 4-0, so felt good. I have a 5% today, so feeling good about that. You and I were both on the Reds. I noticed you were on the Reds and I was on the Reds. You guys, if you just listen to us break down games, you can pretty much tell where we're going, right?
Well, I didn't know where we were going to start today, but yeah, I was on the Reds, and I'll bring Brian Leonard in here because his Guardians, the offensive woes that he sort of foreshadowed on this show, continued. Andrew Abbott, complete game. Brian, that was actually an awesome game, though. It was like excellent defensive plays. Abbott pitches a complete game. I got to be honest, I thought that ball was out of the park. I thought the Guardians won it on a walk-off, and I was thrilled and relieved to see that landed in Benson's glove, because that with the camera panned out, I thought it was 10 rows deep.
It was clear the cameraman was a Cleveland fan, because I'm looking at that as soon as I left the bat, and I said, there's a fly out. Then all of a sudden they start showing the stands, and I go, where's he going with this? And then it wasn't even close. Yeah, that was a great game. And I've got to tell you, the old Cleveland manager, Terry Francona, is now managing Cincinnati. When he was in Cleveland, there's no way he would have let the starting pitcher go 9 innings. He would have brought in Class A. Now, Pagan is a journeyman pitcher for Cincinnati, but to let Abbott come out there in the ninth, I was talking to my wife about it, and I said, what do you do? I said, the guy's pitching great. He's only thrown like 85 pitches. And she says, I don't know. And I said, this is going to be a major deal there. And he walks with the first two guys get on, and then I'm starting to panic. And because I didn't give out Cincinnati. Here's the games that I wrote down to bet. The Colorado game under, Detroit, Cincinnati, Washington, Chicago White Sox. The only loser was Washington on a home run at the last second. So I had a good betting day. My clients went 1-1. I did have the Colorado team total under 4.5, which killed me because I had 2 runs through 8 innings. Two runs through 8 innings, and they went over, or 2 runs through 7 innings, and they went over in the 8th or whatever. But I got lucky the day before on the Oakland. So you give and you take when you bet baseball.
Our parlay, we're currently plus 13 units on that. So.
Yeah, and someone in the chat fired up, Stacy in the chat fired up that we hit a 3-teamer. Yeah, they're not easy to hit. If we can hit 1 a week, we're going to stay well ahead. But Brian, I'll come back to you. My gut reaction when I saw this pitching matchup, was to go right back with the Reds today. Curious how you're seeing this one in Cleveland.
Well, the one thing that concerned me yesterday was they had seen a lefty the day before. Then they go out and see a lefty yesterday. Now they see another lefty today. Is that help? I mean, they're still making bad decisions on some of these guys they're putting into the lineup. They're very weak in that lineup right now with Quan struggling a little bit. That's the only way I would take a look at this. But there is something in rivalry games, and this is for the Ohio Cup for anybody who doesn't follow Ohio baseball. Normally you don't see a sweep, especially from a road team. And it is an early game. Cincinnati's got a lot of young players on that team that are very happy right now. And if you'd have told them coming into the series that they were going to win the series in Cleveland, they'd be very happy. Now they're up. They've won the first few games, and they've got to face another Cleveland pitcher today in Allen, who I think is a little bit overrated. Yes, the value is on Cincinnati. They are the Guardians are facing another left-hander. Lodolo's better than Allen is. Everything points to Cincinnati, but for anybody who's been doing this for 40 years or something like that, I have 45 years, there's certain days that teams have a letdown. And the one thing is, I believe Cleveland is off tomorrow. So this is a situation that after you're on a losing streak, you got a day off tomorrow. Cleveland will put forth their best effort in this game, but will they make a difference? So at this time, I'm leaning Cincinnati, but I haven't made a decision yet.
Yeah, this is Allen is overrated. Wow. I don't know anyone who rates him highly. Do you?
No, I thought no.
He's walking way too many guys. His walk to strikeout rate is 66. He's walking 66% that he strikes out. Lodolo's having a pretty good year, above average, keeping his walks down. Cincinnati's bullpen far superior. Cincinnati's hitting is on fire, but like Brian said, you can't just look at numbers and blindly bet things because there are situational things, and these guys are human beings. That being said, who wouldn't want to sweep their state rival team? I mean, granted, they might not be, nose to the grindstone, or what's that phrase? Sorry, I've been in Japan too long. No, nose to the grindstone. Whatever. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's not going to be balls to the wall for them today. So they're going to be laid back. They're going to hit it, grip it and rip it kind of thing. And a lot less intensity when you've already won the series and you're playing the third game. That being said, Lodolo is a better pitcher, and they have the better bullpen and the better hitting. But what I really like is I like to bet Logan Allen's walk props because he's not exactly what I define a chronic walker, but he's close. He's walking 2.2 guys per game, and Cincinnati's walking around 4 times per game. That averages out to about 3.1 walk projection here, and Allen was 1.5 when I checked it before the show. So if you can grab Allen's walk props over 1.5, I think that would be a good bet, depending on the odds you can get. And Cincinnati will probably win if these were robots playing the game with just numbers, but they're human beings. So be careful. We've been doing this for 40 years, like Brian said, and we've seen the Rockies beat teams. So certainly the Guardians can win too.
Yeah, I'm like, for me, I almost never bet teams in this spot where, especially after I bet them the night before, like I look at it, I said, okay, I got my money with the Reds. They've won. They now won 5 in a row. Do I have to go back and is it worth it? Right. Kind of going off of what you guys are saying, potential letdown. Typically a game like last night, 1-0. And then of course, a couple close wins. You look at the Reds, their last 3 games, a 4-2 win over the Diamondbacks, 7-4 on Monday, and then 1-0 last night. I'd be concerned with where the bullpen was at, but here their bullpen's fine because Andrew Abbott threw a complete game last night. I did laugh at Ohio Cup as well, Sean. I do think they are trying to name these rivalries now, though. So maybe is Brian, is that legit? Are they calling it the Ohio Cup?
Yeah, they actually have a trophy. They've done this for ever since they had interleague play. They've been doing this. It's a big deal for people in Ohio. It's terrible that your big rival is in the opposite league. But, it does mean something. And the players have actually come out and talked about that. It does mean a lot. And talking about Lodolo, he's taken a little bit off of – he's always been a big thrower, big strikeout guy. This year, he's looking for more control. He doesn't strike out nearly as many, but his walk rate is less than 5. And that's always been his problem. So he's taken over sort of like DeGrom, and he wants to stay in the game longer, and it's working out very well for him. So, but it is something the players have talked about. It's just not something that's made up in the media.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the Pearl Jam Cup now they've made this year. So, but anyway, I mean, it's no Akron Kent State, Brian, but it's still a rivalry. I agree with you. Akron Kent State is some crazy stuff. I've been to the Jar for an Akron Kent State basketball game, one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen a college hoop game in. But we'll get to that 6 months from now. As far as this game is concerned, it's going to be tough for me to just not run it back with the Reds. Lodolo's by far, in my opinion, the better starting pitching option. The Reds don't have bullpen issues. Abbott saved the bullpen yesterday. Yeah, like the Guardians are seeing another lefty, but how many good at bats did they have against left-handed pitching last night? They didn't have a third base runner until Ellie De La Cruz threw a routine ball into the fifth row of the stands for no reason, right? Like they could do nothing against Abbott. So why would I assume that they are going to come out and hit Lodolo, who's been pretty good? Reds minus 110 looks good to me. I haven't bet it yet, but hard to argue with that. And Sean,
Abbott's a little bit better pitcher than Lodolo, but yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe recent, but go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, the thing about the seeing the left-handers, one of the reasons why players don't hit lefties as well as righties on many occasions is because they don't see them as often. Usually 1/3 of your pitchers are lefties. So when you see them 3 days in a row, and especially when you've seen a guy for a full 9 innings, that's all they saw yesterday was left-handed pitching. Now, obviously, every left-hander is a little bit different, but that I think that gives, even though they're terrible at it, to see it 3 days in a row, I think is something you at least have to take into account.
Jesse Schul's in the chat. What's going on, Jesse?
Jesse's in my time zone, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably winding down for the night right now. We appreciate you stopping by. Let's get another game in here.
And Jesse is commenting Brian on his look. You gotta like that.
That's the first that's ever happened.
Not even your wife. All right, so that's a couple games. Here's one I think is an interesting discussion that'll, I'm sure, rile some people up in the chat, especially when it gets to
Tigers.
me. Jake says Casey Mize is a play on today. We kind of nailed the Tigers Orioles handicap today. Yeah, I didn't bet it, and I saw Brian. You responded to someone on Twitter, which was kind of my thoughts as well. I got scared off by the line move in that game. I had Tigers, like I was ready to go with Tigers. Suddenly, I see this big move to the Orioles, and I said, I got to pump the brakes. Sure enough, the Tigers come out, no problem, take care of business. It was never really close. I believe they end up winning that game 5-3. Back today, I think this is the better matchup for the Orioles, personally. How are you seeing Tigers Orioles today?
Yeah, the reason why the only thing I can assume the reason why is they thought they were going to Sawyer wasn't going to pitch at all, and it was a total different. But if you did any research at all, you knew he was going to be the bulk guy in that game. So if you waited, you got the better line, and
yeah,
that's one thing you got to do. You got to go back and check. I mean, just type in Google Detroit Tiger News, and you'll get all the information you need to know about who's going to play in that game. Casey Mize going against Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin, he struggled earlier this year. He came off the IL, and he pitched much better last time out. He's a good veteran. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys, so he's not a well-known pitcher, but he's always an innings eater. He's a guy that's doesn't walk anybody. He's the kind of guy I usually like to back. Casey Mize comes in 6-1 out of the season, 2.91 ERA, expected ERA 3.26. Not bad. 1.22 whip, a little bit high in that regard. His numbers are about middle of the road if you take a look at his StatCast numbers. Barrel rate 32nd percentile, hard hit 38, 23rd on his average exit velocity. So he does get hit a little bit, but overall he's pretty good. He's a 55% on ground ball rate, so he does get the double plays, and that's something we really don't talk about much, but there's usually you average about 0.6 double plays in a game. If you go back and you look and see at the end of the day how many double plays a team had, that could tell you a little bit. It's a little bit of a luck factor. I mean, there's some guys out there that are definitely ground ball pitchers and they're going to get more than others. But if they have like 3 double plays in a game, they were very fortunate because you normally get about 0.6. Zach Eflin comes in, also a good record, 5-2, 4.47 ERA, but a 3.57 expected. So he's got some positive regression coming his way. 1.12 whip, His walk percentage, I talked about it. He's in the 99th percentile in walks, 3.2% last year, 3.5%, the year before, 3.4. That's what he does. Now, the problem with Eflin is if you look at his strikeout percent over the years, this year it's 16.6, which gives him a 13.4 strikeout minus walk ratio. Last year it was 19.6. The year before it was 26.5. So he is not striking people out, although he doesn't let many people get on base because of the walks. He's in the 15th percentile in strikeout rate, 24th percentile in whiff rate, fastball velocity, 12%. So he's hittable. And that is a concern. Even though he doesn't walk a lot of guys, he does give up some hits and he gets hit hard. Both of these pitchers have the ability to get hit hard, although they've been pretty good so far this year. Looking at the numbers, currently we're seeing basically Eflin's anywhere from a 110 to a 120 favorite, and the total in this game is 9. Slight lean to the over for myself because I think both these teams are Detroit. You take a look at Detroit's lineup now, compare from 1 through 9, compared to what they played with most of the year, and they've had a lot of success with that. Right now, they've got the best lineup they have had in Major League Baseball this season. They've got a lot of their guys back. They've got a great, the center fielders playing, batting ninth now. They got him back. They're loaded offensively now. In Baltimore, we knew coming into the season, offense was going to be good. It hasn't been as good as we thought it was going to be, but the pitching has always been a problem. I kind of like the over in this game. It's sitting there at 9. From a weather standpoint, the only games in which there's going to be any rain at all is probably Kansas City and Minnesota. Those 2 games are the only ones. Everybody else is clear, no rain, and it's got pretty good weather across the country. So it would not surprise me if you're one of those guys that bets the Grand Slam. If you bet it over, I don't think weather's going to be a problem. So we'll see how that goes. But I kind of like the over in this one.
Okay, Casey Mize 6-1 with an amazing 2.91 ERA, but I honestly don't think he's that good, as good as that record shows. So I expect him to regress just a little bit. He's walking quite a few batters, and I have Baltimore ranked higher in hitting and bullpen than Detroit. Doesn't mean I'm going to play him because Eflin doesn't strike out a lot, but he doesn't walk a lot of guys either. If Baltimore's going to win a game here against Detroit, I think it would be here, but I am not going to bet against the team with the best record in Major League Baseball, and especially when they have a 6-1 pitcher on the mound. So I'm probably going to stay away from this. I have Mize ranked higher than Eflin, but all of the actual detailed statistics favor Eflin over Mize. So like I'm getting a lot of conflicted numbers here, and whenever I get that, it's a stay away for me. I mean, Baltimore's ranked higher than in bullpen and hitting, and they're a worse team. So just a lot of conflicting stuff here. I'm going to stay off.
I couldn't. I did it yesterday with the White Sox, and everyone in the chat had a problem with that. It was like the easiest easiest leg of the parlay. My parlay leg today is going to be the Orioles, -108. So I think it's like -105, -108, -110. We'll figure out what it is. Good chance I add this to my client card as well. Something the Orioles do organizationally that they've done for a long time. So like all these guys, the Holidays, Westbergs, all the guys that came up in the Orioles organization, they teach them to hit off speed, meaning like they hunt the off speed pitch as opposed to like they're not really sitting fastball a lot of times. Like it's just something that if you've gone back the last couple of years, they've always been better against off speed. Like the velo guys will tend to get this Orioles lineup. At least that was the case last year. But it's something I think that they sort of preach, like going up in the ranks of that's just how they so it's just something they preach in their system. Casey Mize, off-speed run value, Baseball Savant is as low as it gets, 9th percent. It's poor, right? That rates out as poor. The Orioles hit right-handed pitching better. Like that's what you want. You want to play this Orioles team against right-handed pitchers, and they hit the ball better at home. So coming off the loss last night, Tigers squeaked out a close win. Yeah, the Tigers are rolling. They've got, they're a good baseball team, but the Orioles have played much better of late. This doesn't look like the same Orioles team from the first 2 months of the season. I've been really impressed with what I've seen out of them. I think they bounced back from last night's loss. And as Tokyo Brandon said, you get the high leverage guys in this bullpen, it's at least equal, right? Like if you get the Orioles top arms here at the end of this game, which theoretically you probably should, it's very close. So Orioles will be my parlay leg for the day. And there's like I said, I'm not giving it out for free on the show, but there's a good chance that that's a client play for me as well. All right. Can't wait to see the chat light up and tell me how wrong I am there. But hey,
I'm lighting you
we'll
up
see.
Like a Christmas tree right now.
We'll see. White Sox was
hater.
White Sox was sweat free yesterday. I know a bunch of people didn't think that was a win. They coasted. Easy winner right there. Didn't need the 1.5. Let's see. Let's go back to the chat. We got it. This is a game. I want to talk about this game. So Craig said it tailed Brian last night. Giants under 11.5. Bottom of the ninth. Bases loaded. That's an interesting question. We'll talk Rockies Giants, but Brian, do you feel like he did the right thing by taking some over 11.5 at plus 825 to sort of hedge in game right there? I kind of felt like it was going to get there at the end. I was waiting for the timely hit from the Giants to go up 8-5. What do you think about what Craig did in game?
Yeah, after what happened the day before when I had the Phillies team total under 2 or under, and they only had 2 rounds through 10 innings. Yeah, I thought it was going to bite us again. Yeah, I thought that myself. I'm watching this game. My wife turns to me. She goes, "I can't take this anymore. I'm going to bed." And that's the way I felt, but I couldn't. And I'm sitting there and I go, somebody just quit walking, people in Colorado. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's the same way that I felt yesterday. And I don't blame him at all for that. To me, live baseball betting is the easiest way to make money. You could see things developing. It was just like I had for my clients yesterday, my 4% play was the under in Colorado team total under 4.5. And even the announcers were talking about the pitcher they left in there. They said they're trying to get 3 good innings out of him. And he was at 2.2 and 2 2/3. And he clearly didn't have it. And the manager wasn't coming out to get him. Now, granted, you're playing in Colorado and you're going to use a lot of different pitchers there. But that move cost my clients a win. It happens. And so I don't blame him at all for that regard. Today we've got another situation where yesterday we had 2 lefties in Colorado, and neither one of these teams hit lefties. Colorado, by the way, they were 1-17. They've got a lead going into the last inning. They blew it again. Now 1-18 on the season versus left-handed starters, and this may be the most talented left-handed starter they have faced all year in Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray's another guy that I loved coming into the season. He looked great in preseason, coming off of injuries. He won the Cy Young a few years ago. He's not back to that point, but you take a look at his expected batting average is 201, expected slugging 325. He's got an 18.3 strikeout to walk ratio. He's the kind of guy that's going to give Colorado problems. But you have Kyle Freeland, who over the years has probably pitched better in Colorado than just about any starter that they have had. They have had some guys that have had some success there on short periods, but he can pitch well here. And he doesn't walk. The whole key to Kyle Freeland is he doesn't walk people. 4.3% on his walks. If you're pitching in Colorado, the ball doesn't move as much. Just throw it down the freaking middle. I mean, if they hit a home run, they hit a home run, but you can't be playing around at the edges and putting people on with walks. That is my concern. But the only problem is on the total, the line was 11.5 yesterday. Now I'm seeing 10s. There's 1 or 2 10.5s juice to the under, but it would not surprise me if it is another low scoring game because neither team is very good against lefties. And if San Francisco didn't win in such dramatic fashion yesterday, I'd be back on them today. But to lay $2 on against a team who blew that last night. Now, a normal team, and very similar to Cleveland we talked about earlier. A normal team would be upset, come back, and give it their all. I'm not sure Colorado's that type of team. They don't seem to have a lot of heart. Management doesn't care. Maybe the players don't care. And you kind of touched on this, Trig, earlier, where you said they found another way to lose and it was a heartbreaker. Maybe this is a situation where we look back at it and we go, San Francisco with a Ray against Freeland, a $2 favor, that's all? I had one of those yesterday with the Yankees. I thought the Yankees line was ridiculous, and it was never in doubt. So, two ways to look at this one. I'll give it more of a look. But, yeah, with Colorado 1-18 versus lefties, even though San Francisco had not been hitting well at all, and they're missing, obviously, Chapman's gone, and they said now for an extended period, he's their best all-around player, I think. That's going to hurt them. But, yeah, we'll see how this one goes. But I am not going to be watching this one after that nightmare yesterday.
Not going to bet this game. I mean, there's very few teams that are hitting worse than the Rockies, and San Francisco is one of those teams that's hitting worse than the Rockies. But San Francisco has a solid starting pitcher, and they have a much better bullpen. But they're playing in that monkey ballpark, which I tend to avoid betting on games that are played there. Kyle Freeland. I do like Kyle Freeland. He's one of the few talents that are on this AA team called the Colorado Rockies. But he's 1-8 with a 5+ ERA. Some of that's because he plays in Colorado, but he's still 1-8. And I don't, as a capper and as a previous scout, I never really put a lot of credence on records, because you could go out and pitch a perfect game and then not get the win because you got no run support. So I don't really put a lot of credence in records. I put a lot more credence on WHIP and ERA and things like that, and expected ERA. But 1-8 is 1-8. It's pretty bad. It's Giants or nothing, but Robbie Ray is just a much better pitcher. I don't know, though. When Colorado wins games, I don't know. I'm staying off this one. Sorry. I don't have any legitimate stuff. I did look at Kyle Freeland's strikeout props. I project him at more than 4 strikeouts, and it's 3.5. But in his career against the Giants, he's averaging only 3.1. So I don't like Kyle Freeland's over strikeouts. Robbie Ray is 7.5, and I'm projecting him at about 6.8. So, I wouldn't bet the over, but I wouldn't bet the under either. So I'm staying off both strikeout props as well.
Feel like there's no way Colorado wins this game. I know that's like a bold statement, and you never want to say that with, like, obviously, like, anything can happen. They used Bird, Halverson, Kinley, Agnos, Vodnik last night. It was as good of a setup as they could have. Their bullpen did exactly what they were supposed to do. They kept him in that game. To have Agnos get blown up and then lose in the ninth like that, and they cooked through, like, arguably their 5 best bullpen arms. Now they're supposed to come back and beat Robbie Ray today. I'm kind of with Brian Leonard. I feel like they should be I feel like the Giants should be a $4 favorite here. Like, the fact that you could get anything close to a -200 is just an absolute gift, given the fact that you have the Giants, who are a really good ball club, Robbie Ray, who is the far superior starter, and the Rockies just basically used all of their good bullpen arms. And you're still going to have Kyle Freeland on the mound. That's an absolute gift at -200. I wish I did stuff like that. I wish I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'll just lay the $2. Not my style, but it's probably a win. Go ahead, Brian. Were you
you mentioned the bullpen. 92 pitches out of the bullpen yesterday. Now, they did have the prior day off, so they didn't pitch that day. But those are all key arms that they used in the bullpen yesterday. And I was watching, while we're talking about this game, I'm watching the line moves over at our line service, Odds Logic, and it's bouncing around. I mean, there's people betting Colorado as a big dog. You can get right like at Sports 401, same as Chris. It's one. Well, it just got hit to 170, but it was 167, which was the lowest on the board. And other places, you're laying 210 in some places. So people are interested in this game. It's lighting up. Both sides are getting hit. If I could get San Francisco at probably 185, I may bet that. Right now, the lowest I could see is 191 or 190. But if it gets to 185, I may take a part of that.
Jabroni, TB is not going to hit at his 5% play. Go support the man. He went 4-0 yesterday and grab his 5%er. However, I was fidgeting my phone while we were breaking that down. I'll hint, I have a 4%er. There's a large orange bird as their mascot. You could probably figure out what it is. So that is a client play for me. And
you've got something with orange. Syracuse is your favorite basketball team, isn't it? And they're the Orangemen.
You know what? I get that a lot. Syracuse is not my favorite basketball team. I just happen to live here. So it's like, if anyone asks my favorite basketball team, the only team I consider myself a fan of, Brian, where I really have to step back a little bit, is the Siena Saints, where I went to college. I could really give a crap about Syracuse. I want them to be good because I now live 25 minutes outside of the city. I would say I'm more a fan of Syracuse football just because it's cool to be good in college football. College basketball, it would be nice if Syracuse was good again, but no, I don't live and die with that team like I do, of course, Siena, the only team I care about. I don't have a baseball team. I'm not a fan of a team in any other sport. But when it comes to Siena hoops, I am that is where my fandom lies, if you will. So yeah, fun fact right there. However, I will be a fan of the Orioles tonight. And I'll gladly go head to head with Sean. I am not 0-11 when fading the Tigers. I think I've done okay betting Tigers games this year. Although, yeah, recently they've got me a couple times, but I'm coming for them tonight. I think they're going to hit Casey Mize and hit him hard. That is the first leg of our parlay as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're at about the halfway mark. We'll have Tokyo Brandon and Brian Leonard will be giving out legs over the next 30 minutes. We're going to create another 3-teamer. So stay tuned, and we're glad you're here. Keep those likes, keep the subscribes coming. We really appreciate you guys helping this show grow. It's been awesome so far, and that is because you guys like and subscribe every day and tune in. So really appreciate it. And we'll take the likes and subscribes all day.
Goes so fast.
Let's get back on track.
It really does fly. It really does fly by.
It does. Because it's fun to talk about baseball.
Yeah, I could do this for 3 hours a day.
Sharing knowledge. Yeah, I could do it for 3 hours too. But we're not allowed.
All right, David Witt, welcome in. I think this might be the first time we've grabbed one of your comments. He says the Phillies have burned me too many times lately. I was pretty happy with myself. I was really close to playing the Phillies yesterday. Decided ultimately that I just didn't want to poke the bear. Literally with the Cubs. They're just too good of a team for me to really want to oppose. But I really did like that spot for the Phillies yesterday. Of course, they end up losing that game. Interesting matchup this afternoon. I think this is a national TV game this afternoon, 1 p.m. start, MLB Network, with a couple of guys we've talked about a ton on this show that I know we collectively like. So Brian Leonard, start us off. We've got Luzardo for the Phillies and Ben Brown for the Cubs. Two of the better teams in baseball. I think it's going to be a good game. I just don't know how to bet it.
Ben Brown was a guy I really liked coming into the season. The only problem was he was a two-pitch pitcher. His four-seam and his curve. Well, he has developed a changeup, and I guess it's been pretty good from what I've been told. He only throws it 4% of the time, but anytime you have a pitch that you have success with, having it in your arsenal definitely helps. And he's been a lot better lately than he was earlier on the season. His numbers don't look good. He's got a 5.37 ERA, 4.24 expected ERA, so about a run better. His whip is high, 1.43, but his walk rate is only 7.1. So he's given up some hits. His average exit velocity is the 8th percentile, hard hit 16th, barrel 29. That means when he gets hit, he gets hit pretty hard. This is a pretty good hitter's park in Philadelphia. I like him. Now that he's got that changeup, I think we could see better things out of Brown, and he'll end up becoming what I think he can be. Luzardo was unhittable earlier in the season. He struggled a little bit as of late. In fact, he struggled a lot as of late. His ERA is up to 4.46, but his expected ERA is 3.6. A little bit unlucky, but still a 1.44 whip. So we've got two guys here that put runners on base, and Brown gets hit pretty hard. We're looking at a total. It opened at 9 to the under. Now I'm seeing 8.5. In this game, with the bats we have for both of these teams, I have to think that maybe the over here is the way to go. Chicago Cubs 116 WRC plus on the season versus lefties. They only got a 10-9 record, but the 116 shows that they're still much better than league average against lefties. I'm leaning with the over here. If you can get 8.5, in which seems to be just about everywhere now, that would be my choice on this game.
Okay, this is one of those games where I have one of the teams better at everything than the other team, but just a little bit. And that team is the Cubs. I'm surprised that my numbers are coming out and loving the Cubs this much in this game. I have the Cubs ranked better than the Phillies in every measurable category, but only by a tiny bit. So it's one of those games where if they were like 10 points or 15 points better at everything, then it's a 5% play. Boom, take them. But they're like 2 points here, 1 point here, 3 points here better. And then in the end, I got the Cubs ranked only like 5 points higher than the Phillies. But every category I measure, they're better. They're better at batting. They're better. Their bullpen's performing better. And they're starting pitchers better, which I'm really surprised because I was very high on Luzardo. You know, if you've been watching this show from the beginning, I've coined the phrase, don't bet against Jesus. But he has been barfing lately, and Brown's performing better than him. Phillies still missing Harper, I believe. And they've just, I don't know if he's the heart and soul of their lineup, but they're just not performing well. But the Cubs aren't either. Brown walks very few batters. Luzardo has a good walk rate as well, but Brown's walk rate is immaculate. It's impeccable. If I went anywhere here, I'd go with the Cubs. But I'm not going to do it. But if I were to, I would go with the Cubs.
Yeah, no, I think that's a reasonable assessment. I think the Cubs are a superior team to the Phillies. I think that gets more pronounced with Bryce Harper on the IL. To me, with both these teams at full strength, there's still no question the lineup. The Cubs are absolutely the better team. So I'm with you there, TB. I would say across the board, I have the Cubs superior to the Phillies. I talked about the Phillies earlier this year at one point, thinking that they could be the odd team out in the National League. I would say the longer Harper is out, the more that could become a reality. There's some really good ball clubs in the National League this year. And, the Phillies, I think the Mets are going to win that division. They're going to be in a dogfight for a wild card spot with some other really good teams that are in the National League. The Cubs are going to run away with that division, in my opinion. They're an elite team, but I'm with Brian here. I see runs. I see great at-bats throughout this game. That's the one thing that, the Phillies could knock Brown around a little bit because they've got the ability to do that. The Cubs right now, 1 through 9, are having such good at-bats. Now, it doesn't always work out. It doesn't mean they're always going to hang crooked numbers, but they're having really good at-bats. If they can get anything off Luzardo, there's runs at the end of this game because I don't really trust either bullpen. 8.5 is a very fair number for an over right here. So I'm with Brian right there. I would go over or nothing in this, and 8.5 is a good line. Brian, I want to come back to you for a quick question from Memphis Money. He says, Brian, when you say expected ERA, do you mean for the next game or the rest of the season? I know what you mean, but explain that to the viewers.
Yeah, basically anything that has an X in front of it, that is based on how hard the ball is hit, or how hard the ball is hit, where it's hit, all the things. It's sort of like there's been a lot of talk about catch probability in baseball. The fantastic catch by the Oakland A's outfielder the other day, I believe that had a 75% catch probability. No way in hell that happened. So that anytime you got the wall in the way, it's a different. They haven't figured that out yet. But expected means based on how hard the ball is hit, where it's hit, and all that. If you were to have that same ball hit that way 1,000 times, the percentage that it becomes a hit as opposed to that one individual hit. So how many times have we seen? We even saw that last night in the Colorado game. Little blooper to right center field, falls for a hit late in that game. in 99% of the other, in every other ballpark, that's a fly ball. But because the outfield in Colorado is so big, that falls for a hit. Now that hit was that guy had 1,000% on that one swing of the bat. But in reality, unless he's playing in Colorado, he's pretty much got a 0% chance of that being a hit. So the expected numbers weigh out, smooth out all the highs and the lows, all the tails. If you follow math with the curves, all the tails, and it brings it into the middle, and that's what you're looking for. So baseball, they always say it's a game of inches. We've seen it all the time. Guy gets touched by the pitch. He gets first base, hits his uniform, whatever. It's a game of inches. So if you take a look at it laid out and averaged out, the expected numbers are what I pay attention to. So if his ERA is 4.97 and his expected number is 3.97, that means he's been unlucky. And I pay more attention to the expected numbers than the actual numbers. And it's like, TB talked about wins and losses. Wins and losses mean nothing. If a guy says he's 8-1, great, he's 8-1. He's been very fortunate. But you want to look at his base numbers, which are the ones that are on the StatCast page, which is why I talk about them every day.
I've always looked at the X numbers to basically mean lucky or unlucky. So if a guy's getting really lucky by putting a lot of balls in play, you can expect his ERA to go up. You can expect his WHIP to go up. And if he's been unlucky, you can expect his WHIP and ERA to go down. So.
Which is why we always like guys who strike people out, because that means there's less balls in play.
Yeah. Less chance for luck. Yeah. Less chance for luck. Exactly. Yeah.
That's a great breakdown, guys. And no, that was really great. And that's why you should always be pulling up the Baseball Savant page, looking at fan graphs. All of these numbers are accessible to you. This is not like, they're out there and they're not that hard to find. Those two sites, Baseball Savant, fan graphs, you're going to have most of what you need on those two pages. David Witt, so he was the one that asked about Cubs Phillies. Brian and I, he says Cubs Phillies under. I think Brian and I are in agreement that we would play over 8.5 there if we were going to play that game. So just to clarify that, let's move on. This has been a good series so far. I laughed when I saw the final score last night. Admittedly, I had other games on. I didn't watch a ton of this game, but Joe, we did the breakdown yesterday. I said, how is this game not going to go over by a mile? I said, wait till you see the 2-1 final. Sure enough, 3-1. Giolito he was throwing BP last night, keeps them in a game. It's a 3-1 game. It's been an entertaining series so far. Watched every pitch of that game on Monday night. Justin wants to know Rays Red Sox. Tough one. My gut says Rays, but man, this has been a competitive series and I'm not really sure. So we'll start with Brian Leonard. Rays Red Sox finale of a 3-game set.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in Walker Buehler. I didn't like him coming into the season. He comes in with a 5.18 ERA, 4.78 expected. So he's basically getting what he should. 1.44 WHIP after a season when he had a 1.55 WHIP. I don't want to back guys who walk a lot of batters in Boston. And now that the weather's getting better in Boston, I've even heard some of their own announcers talking about that. They think this is going to turn into a normal Boston high-scoring environment. And I could see that here, especially with Buehler on the mound with his walk problem. And it's not really his walk problem. He's got a 7.4 walk rate, which is just a point less than normal. League average is 8.4, but he's getting hit hard. His whiff rate is in the 13th percentile, barrel rate in the 18th percentile, expected ERA 19th, expected batting average 18th. He's the guy I'm looking to bet against. And he's going up against the Tampa Bay team. And I talked yesterday a little bit about Tampa Bay's offense. They've been either – I was just talking about the shape of the outcomes. They've either been left or right. They've either been shut out or they're scoring 14 runs. This is a team that's driving me crazy right now because I like the expected runs. And how can you expect something out of Tampa when they go with all these games, they don't score, then all of a sudden they have such a big blowout. Zach Littell on the mound, 3.68 ERA, 4.30 expected, 1.09 WHIP. That's the one thing he does is he doesn't put a lot of guys on base. His walk rate's in the 98th percentile, chase in the 84th, but he doesn't strike guys out. He's in the 7th percentile. He only averages 16.3% strikeouts, which gives him a 12.9 strikeouts minus walk. Strikeout percentage, 11th percentile, barrel rate, 10th percentile. So we've got two guys here that I think can be hit. And we've already seen that this line has moved up from 10.5 to the over slightly. It really hasn't moved that much. I see some 10s out there. But if you can get a 9.5 here, and I mentioned it coming into the show that the weather is going to be good just about everywhere, it would not surprise me to see a high-scoring game here once again. It looks like I'm leaning towards the over in this one.
Bueller's one of those guys. I've never liked him, but when we bet thousands of games as professionals, you develop kind of a love-hate relationship with starting pitchers, and I have a hate relationship with Walker Buehler because I don't like him and my numbers don't like him, but every time I fade him, he goes out and pitches like 6 scoreless innings and 8 strikeouts. And I just kick myself. I'm like, why did I do that? It's like Soriano yesterday. He went 7 innings, 2 hits, 12K. Who expected that from Soriano yesterday? Not me. Fortunately, I won the bet, or I pushed the Oakland A's yesterday. But anyway, the Sacramento A's. Anyways, Bueller's one of those guys who I would love to fade him here, but every time I do, I get burned. Littell, I love his walk rate, very good. Littell's one of those guys. At the beginning of the season, I had high hopes for him. He burned me on, I think, 2 bets. I got burned by him, so I got a little cold on him. But he's coming on. He's a good pitcher. My numbers rank him very mediocre, but eye test, I like him a lot more than my numbers like him. Bullpen wise, Tampa Bay has an advantage in current form. I have them 10 and I have Boston 17. And both of these lines are ripping it right now. So maybe an over, but Littell's pitching really well. So I don't know if I would go over. Tampa Bay's team total over might be a look, but I looked before the show and both of them were 4.5. Really hard to go over 4.5 unless you've got the Mets playing in Colorado or something like that. So I'll probably stay off this one, but it would be Tampa Bay or nothing, but hard to bet against the team that's batting number 2 in MLB right now. So
yeah, I'll go with the day late theory here. I like the over yesterday. There was no runs in that game, despite a setup that looked like it was primed for runs. Of course, you go back to Monday's game, 10-8, fireworks all game. My gut tells me it's going to be more like Monday. I do think I'm in agreement with something Brian said about the weather, Dave, because we get similar weather to Boston up here. It's been terrible, ton of rain. It's been cold. I do think as it gets warmer, Fenway is going to start playing like far more of an offensive ballpark because that's how it typically is. I think that the books didn't really give you any value here, making you play over 10. Like that number's kind of, I think they're ahead of this as well. I think that tells me the books are they kind of know there's probably some runs to be had in this matchup. But again, like 10 is not the worst. I mean, 9.5 to 9 is more of a jump than 9.5 to 10, right? Because like 9 is sort of that key for the over. If you can get to 4-4, you're at least going to get to 9. So my gut says, I think it plays out as over. I don't see the same, like, so just to compare 2 totals we've talked about, I think Cubs Phillies at 8.5 is a better bet for an over than Red Sox Rays at 10. That being said, I still think there's runs here. I just don't think the line is as good, but I do lean toward the over. All right, a couple people asking about this one. Brian said he had a win in this game last night. Someone else said, can the Yankees steal a win here? I don't know that the Yankees would be stealing a win. I think the ball Judge hit is going to land in Tokyo Brandon's front yard in a few minutes, probably
Almost
still
here.
Hasn't landed. Yeah,
Almost.
Absolutely crushed. I don't know that the Yanks would be stealing a win. He also wants to know about the total. Yankees just kind of rolling right now. I don't know that the Royals really match up all that well with them. So I was interested to see how low this line was, though. Bubik getting some respect, or maybe Clark Schmidt's not getting the respect. Help me figure this one out, Brian.
I'm with you. I'm a big Bubik fan and a big Boob fan, by the way. But
Who isn't?
and thank you, Tokyo Brandon, for a lot of your tweets. Yes, I like him, but I don't think this is the best matchup. I talked about it yesterday. Looking at the Yankees against lefties, WRC plus on the season of 136. The next best was Houston yesterday. Now it's Boston at 122. One team 14% better than any other team in baseball versus lefties. That means I want to play on them when they're facing a lefty. Bubic has been very good all season long, outstanding. As opposed to Reagans, who has had some injury problems lately. Knock on wood for Kansas City fans, nothing's happened with the Bubic as of yet. But if I could get the Yankees against Kansas City in a near pickup situation, that's the side I'm going to look for. When I'm taking a look at Schmidt, he's a guy who's a little bit up and down, but you see a lot of red on the StatCast page. He's very, very good in that regard. He's a fly ball pitcher, only 18% in ground ball rate, 26% walk rate, not a whole lot of extension at 28th, but he's done pretty well. His ERA is 4.0 far, which is pretty close to league average. Expected ERA, a full run lower, 3.07. His whip is 1.29, a little bit too high for my regard. But when you take a look at the guy and his expected ERA is a full run better, that means he's been a little bit unlucky. The Yankees had no problems with Kansas City yesterday. I think the Yankees will have very little problem with them today. They won't score the runs like they did yesterday. But I think the Kansas City offense is one of the worst in baseball, and Tokyo will tell you that. But the line is very fair here if you're looking to play the Yankees. It's either Yankees or nothing for me.
I have Chris Bubic ranked number 5 among all MLB pitchers right now. Of course, these rankings go up and down, but he's had 8 decisions. He's probably had more than 8 starts, and he still has a 1.4 something ERA. I mean, that's something to be said about that. I know ERA can be skewed and is not a tell-all statistic, but that's pretty good. And I've never really liked Clark Schmidt. So my first inclination was to see how can I bet the Royals here. Royals are actually hitting better than the Yankees right now. I know that sounds weird, and I'll probably never say it again in my entire life. And I like Bubic better too. The only thing I don't have the Royals ranked better than the Yankees at right now is bullpen. So I would take the Royals in the first 5 here. The problem is Bubic has bad stats against these guys in his career, 48 at bats against. They're hitting him 312, only 1 home run though, but an 890 OPS against him, where Schmidt against these Royals batters, 62 at bats against, they're only hitting 226 against him. So if those stats were the opposite, I would put a pretty good percent play on the Royals here in the first 5. But being that Schmidt is another one of those guys who always burns me when I fade him, I'm not going to play it, but my numbers like the Royals in the first 5.
Yeah, I'll admit where I'm wrong. I came into this season thinking the Yankees might not make the playoffs. I even think I talked about on the show, I thought the line was very fair. I think you could have got like plus 250 on them to miss the playoffs. I thought it was a good bet coming into the season with some of the injuries they had and the questions in the rotation. This team is just very good. Like they're awesome again. I live up here in New York. All of my buddies from college are Yankee fans, like for the most part. I have to hear about this team constantly. And I really thought you think you're going back to the World Series this year. Not going to happen. I don't know. George Stanton's out at Giancarlo Stanton's out at AA hitting ropes right now. I was thinking of George Lombard, who's another player that they've got coming through the pipeline. Point is, they're going to get Stanton back at some point. Team is just really good. I have no interest in betting against this Yankees team right now, especially when they're in this price range. These two teams are not equal. And I feel like the books are almost saying, Clark and Schmidt and the Yankees, Bubic and the Royals, like relative equals here. Not the case for me. It would be Yankees or pass. Sorry, Brian, did you have your hand raised? Sorry.
I was only going to say when Stanton comes back, is that going to help him? Because all he could play is DH, and they've already got DHs. It's going to cut into the other guy's time. It's always good to have depth, but I don't think it's going to help him at all.
If you need 15 home runs and a guy who bats 190, he'll help.
He's been good in the playoffs.
I mean, it'll be interesting. Hey, you never know in baseball. 3 weeks from now, someone could get hurt. Right. A spot could open up. I don't think he's going to be back. Like, I think they're going to give him. He'll probably go to Scranton for like another week. So we're probably looking a couple weeks down the line. I don't think he's coming back like right away. He'll probably get like at least a stint in Scranton to get back up to speed. But it's like TB said, it's who knows if playoff Stanton shows up from last year. He'll probably hit his way into the lineup like when he was just locked in. The point is, Yankees at this price, I wouldn't be able to fade them. It would have to be Yankees or pass. All right, I'm going to go to Brian Leonard to propose a game and then ultimately give out a parlay leg because we're getting close to the end of the show. We'll do Brian's leg and then we'll do Tokyo Brandon's leg. So throw a game out there. You have the floor.
All right, let me just check a line here before I get to it. Sorry.
A lot of wants for the Astros.
Let's go with let me pull a trig for all of his lovers in the
White Sox.
Let's tell you the White Sox plus 1.5 here against Houston, and you can bet it with gusto. Gusto's going for Houston.
Gusto Cerveza.
I'm going to fade him. You take a look at his numbers. Oh my God, they've been terrible. 4.78 ERA, 4.48 expected. His whip, 1.64. You take a look at his Savant page. I've always talked about blue and red. Blue is bad, red is good. Not a single red mark anywhere near his page. He's in the 11th percentile at exit velocity. Chase percent 14%, ground ball rate 18%. You don't want to be in the 18% ground ball rate in this ballpark. The Chicago White Sox, obviously, they don't have the same guy as they had yesterday pitching, but Sean Burke does have some red. His extension is in the 92nd percentile. His hard hit rate, 65th percentile. Exit velocity, 76th. He has been a little bit lucky, 4.03 ERA, 5.31 expected, 1.39 whip. I'm going to change my mind on this. After I'm starting to look at it here, why don't we just make it simple? I talked about earlier how I think we're going to have a lot of scoring in today's games. This line is only 8.5. Instead of me trying to force something on Chicago, let's look for offense. I'm going to play over 8.5, and you can get it anywhere from minus 103 to 108 or something. So let's place the White Sox and Houston over 8.5. And to be honest with you, if they haven't put out the Grand Slam yet, and I'm not a guy that normally plays it, keep an eye on that. I may end up playing that. Can't give it to clients because not everybody can bet it. But as I said earlier, I think there's going to be a lot of runs scored on today's card. Give me the White Sox and Houston over because I don't believe in Burke as much as I do the others, and I want to fade gusto, play the over.
TV, you can talk about that game. We have time, so you can talk about that game. Then we'll go to your game if you have any.
I'll
thoughts.
give a parlay piece because it's a game we already covered. But first, let me tell you how I'm betting these two teams. Gusto walks a lot of people. Sean Burke walks a lot of people. Sean Burke walks 78% of the batters he strikes out. Not good. If you can get a 1.5 over walks for either one of these chronic walkers, you should take it. And that goes along with Brian's cap because if you walk a lot of batters, generally the other team's going to score a lot. So I have the White Sox above average in hitting right now. Astros a little bit below average. White Sox have a poor bullpen performing poorly. Astros have a decent bullpen performing decent. But yeah, I wouldn't argue with an over, and I certainly would not mind over 1.5 for either one of these pitchers in the walk prop. My leg of the parlay, sorry guys, you're gonna call me a chicken turd or whatever, but I'm gonna take the Giants on the money line. Sorry.
I don't hate that at all.
No.
I like
I
that.
know, but it's kind of, as a professional capper, it's kind of chickening out. But it's hard enough to hit a 3-leg. So
If the line should be 250 and you're laying 190, that's a good bet.
I agree. If I was putting it out as
Fezzik's probably all over the Giants today.
If I was putting it out as a client play, I might have to apologize. But as a 3rd leg and a 3-leg parlay, I don't have to apologize. I think it's minus 210, 220, something like that. So I'm going to go with the Giants.
Yeah, I'm getting seen anywhere from 193 to 205. I think you can get $200 at least is the best.
Sure. Sounds good.
I mean, we're building a 3-teamer here. I'll comment on the White Sox, and I'll just, to support your parlay play, TB. I think the Giants should be a $4 favorite today. The fact that you can now get them under minus
at least 280, at least 280.
Yeah, the fact that you can get them under minus 200 is a kind of a gift. Like, I'm over here like, should I just lay the $1.95 and man up? Like, I really feel like it sets up that well for the Giants. So I don't hate that at all. And I'm very much in agreement with Brian. White Sox Astros, same exact game as yesterday. Same game as yesterday. White Sox it's probably like a coin flip type game. Pitching matchup similar. The books came out and said, oh, you want to take the +1.5? Okay, here's a $1.45 juice. We're going to make you pay for it. Yesterday, it didn't seem to matter. The only difference, which actually maybe supports Brian's pivot here, the White Sox did use some bullpen arms to close that game out yesterday. So, of course, a little bit more fatigued in the bullpen. That probably helps Brian's over out a little bit. It's like right around 10:02. I'm going to calculate the odds on this parlay. Let's get the chat one more game. They want to talk Marlins Pittsburgh. That's an early game. Marlins Pirates. Brian Leonard, quick thoughts. Marlins Pirates.
Brady Falter's been pitching pretty well. Problem is, you got to lay a 140 to 150 on the Pittsburgh Pirates. The guy going against Quantrill, and he's a veteran. And you made a good point on, I believe it was yesterday's show, where you talked about how these guys that have been around a long time could have a great game. And by the way, LA Angels will prove that out. He almost threw a no-hitter through 7. But it was one of those days where he had it all working. And I prefer the Falter side here. Can't lay that number. Probably won't get involved.
Just real quick, I'm probably not going to get involved either, but both teams hitting mediocre, 2 mediocre to sub-mediocre starters. I have Falter ranked 15. I have Quantrill ranked 24. But these are 2 really good bullpens, you guys. At least they're performing really well right now. And you guys mentioned in earlier shows that Miami has a lot of young talent and they're coaching them well. I think their bullpen is performing really well right now. And surprisingly, the Pirates bullpen is performing well. So I might look at a Miami team total under here. Maybe. Haven't gotten to it yet. And if it's 4.5, I'll definitely jump on it. But it's probably 3.5. So I'll think about it.
Yeah, no line value here in my opinion, but I'll go back to what I've been kind of saying the last week or week and a half or so. Pirates are playing good ball right now. Like, they lost yesterday, but this Pirates team is just playing better. Like, that you go back to the first 6 weeks of the season, even really the first 2 months of the season, a lot of mistakes, errors, like had to be leading the league or very close in errors and not, whatever the defensive runs allowed stat is. They were really poor in that metric, not hitting, like no timely hitting. They've really made a 180, at least, and again, small sample size, last couple of weeks. They're doing all the little things right now, all the things that they were doing wrong. So it's got to be Pirates or nothing here for me. I think Falter is a ideal option over Quantrill. TB said the Pirates bullpens come around. That's, go back to March 28th when they, David Bednar was getting shelled. They sent him down. They've pretty much sort of bounced back from that. I've been pretty pro Pirates of late, and it could only be Pirates for me here. All right, I'm going to read the part. Unless did either of you have a follow up there? If not, we'll read the parlay and get out of here.
Go ahead.
All right, 3-teamer for today. We hit one yesterday. We're going to try to do it again. today. This is going to come out in the plus 440 range, plus 440, plus 450. I'll actually run it. No, it's okay, TB, because you found a leg that I think is I think it's like at least minus 300. It should be. It's under $2. I think that's a great call. So Tokyo Brandon is going with the Giants minus 200. I'm going with the Orioles. This one moved a little bit, so I just punched in minus 115. I think it's like minus 115, minus 120 now. And then Brian Leonard's going to bring us home with White Sox Astros over 8.5. So that is Orioles full game money line minus 115. White Sox Astros over 8.5, probably about minus 105. Giants minus 200, looking at like a plus 440, plus 450 payout. All right, we've made it to the end of the show. I really could do another hour. I know we missed a whole bunch of questions. We try to get to as many as we possibly can, but we'll be back tomorrow to do it again, 9 a.m., and we'll see you guys then. Hope everyone cashes. Let's hit another parlay. We'll see you guys tomorrow.